Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here yet again for another webinar. And today, in today's webinar, we will be primarily tackling and going through how Odoo can help eliminate stock shortages, especially when it comes to cosmetics and the FMCG manufacturing industry. So, without further ado, let's begin today's session. So please allow me to introduce myself first. So my name is William Grierson. I'm a business advisor based in the Hong Kong office. So throughout today's session, if there are any questions that I probably have not been able to answer, or if you would like to request for a more personal presentation when it comes to maybe having your own specific workflows, please feel free to scan the QR code on the screen and we'll be able to sort you out. Okay, so the agenda for today will be broken down into 5 key segments. 1 being the Odoo overview, 2 is the Philippine landscape reality when it comes to the troubles of most people in either the cosmetics or the FMCG industry. 3, we will go through a quick case study. And then 4, we will see how Odoo is able to help when it comes to those specific challenges. And then lastly, we'll be able to have a Q&A and dive deeper into some of your questions. All right. Okay, so for most of you, or for some of you rather, that are joining for today that probably don't know what Odoo is yet, Odoo was created in 2005 by Fabian. It is an ERP, and in that industry, back in the day, there were two primary gaps. One being it was very expensive, and two being it was really hard to use when it came to the user friendliness. So that is why Odoo, that is where Odoo comes in. We are an all-in-one business management software that's not only comprehensive, but it's also beautiful and easy to use. So currently, when it comes to our global presence, we have 21 offices worldwide. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I am this is being broadcasted from the Hong Kong office. And as a recent addition to our offices, that's actually the one in the Philippines. So the office is in Quezon City. However, when it comes to our international headquarters, we are actually based in Belgium, right? And throughout these 21 years in existence, we've been able to amass a whopping 28 million happy and contented users. Okay, so you might be wondering, what are the typical customers that we have dealt with in the past? Now, traditionally, although we set out with the goal to help small and medium enterprises, as you can see here from the screen, we've managed to work with the best of the best and multinational companies, right? So there are two key things I'd like to highlight here. So one, regardless of how big the company or what industry the company belongs in, Odoo is able to help in some way, shape, or form. So that's really a true testament to its versatility, as well as how customizable it can become. All right, so the main question that you may have for today is how can Odoo help your business? Okay, so typically, most businesses, not just in the Philippines, but globally, will still function and operate here on the left-hand side, right? Per each department, there is usually a software and an application. Now, while this could be good at first, as your business expands, this could incur more costs. And because these applications actually do not talk with one another, it would be very hard to actually find out the details different between different applications. So that is why with Odoo we truly understand um, that issue, and in order to streamline your operations, we'd like, all right, we have a system wherein you can handle your end-to-end process, whether that's from your website, all the way down to sales, inventory, purchasing, and so on, right? So one application to manage your day-to-day operation. Okay, so the reason why why we have over 4,000 customers actually in recent years in the Philippines is primarily because we're able to help in some way, shape, or form, as I mentioned earlier. So whether that be through the front end with website applications, or in the back end with operations, HR, manufacturing, productivity, marketing, all the way up to finance, we have an application that can handle most SMEs requirement, right? So as you can see here, we have actually till date over 70 applications. So usually this will grow and grow on a yearly basis. Okay, so that was the overview of Odoo. Let's dive into the current reality of most cosmetics and FMCG companies currently, right? The number one issue usually that we have come across is that it's hard for that they usually experience a lot of recurring stock shortages, right? And the safety stock levels are usually not being satisfied either on a monthly or a quarterly basis, regardless of how well you plan. Let's say you're forecasting, there are always going to be other issues. For example, not understanding maybe the lead time between the different vendors or not being able to see what's actually really in our stock, right? All of this will ultimately cause this problem. And two, limited visibility across warehouses and production runs. So as a cosmetics or an FMCG company, I would imagine that there are maybe you have multiple warehouses throughout the nation, right? So if a branch, if you don't have access or it's hard to find out how much is truly in a specific warehouse, this can ultimately lead to profits that aren't being marginalized, right? Because maybe we weren't able to see the true amount of inventory in a specific warehouse. Okay, three is manual processes using disconnected spreadsheets and systems. Again, let's say, for example, from the sales department, they would like to, for example, sell, let's say, X amount from a certain warehouse, right? Because they don't have visibility into that warehouse, they ended up still proceeding with it. But ultimately, we could not satisfy the order. And let's say the customer was then um, not happy with that experience. And then lastly, tracking of inventory and manufacturing costs. So this is very crucial. So in today's day, especially with raw components constantly fluctuating in price, it is very crucial to understand the true cost of your product, right? Every factor should be considered in the cost of the goods sold, whether that's the components, whether that's the operational expense or the labor expense, right? So let's move on. Okay, so for today, we have Prime Cosmetics Inc., right? We are going to learn exactly how this cosmetics and FMCG manufacturing company is able to improve their production planning, able to maintain safety stocks on a monthly or a quarterly basis, and furthermore, gain real-time visibility across multiple warehouses using the latest version of Odoo. Okay, so before we jump into the system demo, let's dive deeper into their existing pain points. So initially, they struggled with fragmented operational ecosystems, right? Again, multiple different softwares per each department. Manufacturing has their own software, sales has their own software, inventory has their own software, and none of them interconnect with one another. So it's very, very hard to connect and to see the real-time value throughout these departments, which would usually be, very time-consuming having to find out these data, right? Or furthermore, if we are to, for example, check our spreadsheets, we might not even be dealing with the most updated numbers, right? And ultimately causing headaches in admin and the business. So there's also this safety stock deposit deficit, sorry, right? Being unable to maintain your minimum required levels on a monthly basis, just so you have a good amount that you're able to sell on a monthly basis. And then for number 3 and 4, which is logistics, transit blind spots, and then yeah, so for the logistics transit blind spots, if you are creating, for example, um, a transfer from warehouse A to warehouse B, or if, for example, there is a sales order that is currently being fulfilled, but that number is still logged into our inventory system, the sales team might accidentally sell that, right? And we don't have an idea of actually the true amount that is in the inventory. And then lastly, outdated theoretical costing. Again, it's very, very hard to monitor the true cost of a product. So usually in traditional scenarios, we will just assume and use theoretical costing when it comes to the cost of goods sold. So now let's jump into the system itself so that we can see how Odoo is able to help when it comes to these tricky problems. Okay, so here we have a typical Odoo database. So this is the user interface. As you can see, it's very modern and sleek, right? It's almost as if you are logging in into your phone or into your laptop, wherein you can see all of the applications nicely presented in front of you. So for today, we will be diving into sales, manufacturing, purchasing, and inventory. Okay, so for today, now I will be wearing the hat of a production manager. And as a production manager, it is my job to ensure that I have a safety amount of inventory per each month. Now, when I am also in charge of the production, I need to ensure that one, I am looking at the sales forecast so that I can also match it between the actual demand. Okay, so in order to do so, let's first see how the company is doing with regards to sales. So when we jump into sales, here we can organize and chronologically order our sales to see how we are doing overall. We can further filter this on a monthly basis, right? To see how we are performing, for example, for the month of July, this month, or for the month of May. June. Okay, but as a production manager, especially in charge of ensuring that we don't forecast too much or too little, we need to dive deeper into these sales order and see the actual amount being sold per each month. So with Odoo, we have our we have our sales reporting. Okay, so let's pivot into the pivot view. So from here, as you can see, these are the products that we are actually selling. Okay, and we now have the month of May, June, and July. So as you can see, let's say for example for face wash, right? So for the month of May, we sold 261 units. For June, we have sold 1,106, and then for July, we have sold 557. So with that, we now have a total of 1924. Okay, 1,924. So for the month of August, I am just going to assume, probably it depends how you would like to forecast the sales, but let's say we divide it equally. We are looking at roughly 660, for example. Okay, so now it's time to do our production forecasting, which we will be using the master planning schedule within the manufacturing module. So let's now jump into our manufacturing module and go straight into the master production schedule. Okay, so for the month of July, we initially forecasted 1,300 to be used for that particular month. And when we see the initial starting inventory amount, which is 843, we can see here, sorry, if we dive deeper into the face wash product, right, we can see that we are trying to maintain 1,000 items for the following month, okay? And furthermore, as you can see for the replenishment here, because I would like to monitor things and because things may change, I have currently set it up for manual, but we can actually automate this procedure. Okay, but for today it is in manual, and for this product it will be manufactured from our production house. Okay, so we have the product itself. We need to maintain 1,000 at all times. We have forecasted 1,300. So therefore, we need 1,457 plus the 843 that we have on hand in order to satisfy the 1,000 to carry over for August. Okay, so if we do 1,457 plus 843, and then we deduct the safety stock for the following month of 1,000, that will leave us with 1,000. Okay, so actually here you may notice a column for the actual demand. Now, if, for example, your database has data from the year prior, we can actually see the actual amount that we needed for this time last year. So this is a very, very good feature to have because it will allow me to forecast more accurately for this year. So not only am I referring to the sales reports, but I'm actually looking at the previous forecasted or actual demand rather. Okay, so for today, let's focus on our August. Okay, so for the forecasted demand, let's say for example, the actual demand for August last year was maybe around 900 something. So now we are going to actually put the forecasted demand in this box right here to 1,000, let's say, units. So as you can see, the system has calculated that in order to have 1,000 safety stock for the following month, let's say, for example, for September, we need to procure 299 because we have 1,701 pieces or units rather here. We only need 299 to produce for this month in order to carry over 1,000 for the following month. Okay, so once everything is good, I am now going to proceed and select order. Okay, so we can tell that it's been confirmed by looking at the box here. The box has changed into gray, which means it has now taken into effect. So let's just double check by now proceeding to our manufacturing order. Okay, so as you can see here, for the month of August, which is in 16 days, we already have our manufacturing order. So if we jump into the order itself, we can see all the components needed in order to satisfy this specific manufacturing order. All right, so as we can see here, the system is already integrated and connected with our inventory side. So I do not need to ask our inventory manager whether we have these or not. Okay, so we can see here, not available. And if we jump into the overview, without even going into the purchasing app, I can already start to submit my request for order to our purchasing team. Okay, so we can do that by selecting here. So as you can see, we have a very good overview where we can plan our production, right? So as you can see, this needs to be ordered. So now I will simply press replenish, right? If we have multiple suppliers, we can select the one that is relevant or that can fulfill your order, because usually in this industry, we probably have multiple suppliers with different pricing and different lead times. Okay, so let's just go with the best vendor. Confirm. confirm, and I will also confirm for the remaining raw components. Okay, so what we can also see here, as the production manager, I have a very good understanding of exactly what is going to be put into creating this face wash. I can also see when we are expected to receive each and every one of the components we just ordered. So because we need this for the month of August, as you can see here, for face wash to be fully built, it will be roughly on August 1. So it's going to be tight, but as you can see, we are able to fulfill this. Okay. So we can also see all the operations involved as stated over here. All right. So as a manufacturing, as a production planner, not only did I base my sales forecast and not only did I look at the sales forecast to help me come up with a number for the forecast for the following month, but I was able to also refer to historical records based on last year to finally create the production planning. And after creating the production planning, I was already able to also submit the RFQs to our purchasing team. So now let's jump right into the purchasing module. Okay, so as you can see, I didn't need to create any sophisticated quotation orders or requests to the purchasing department. I didn't even need to make a call because as you can see here from the very top for purchase order 40, we can see all the necessary raw components that I requested just from the manufacturing module itself. So not only did I save so much time, but now also our purchasing team has an idea of what needs to be purchased soon, or in this case, as soon as possible, right? So here on the right-hand side, I'd like to introduce you to a key feature we have, which is called the Chatterbox. So with Chatterbox, we can easily collaborate with other colleagues or other departments. Okay, so in this case, I will tag John David, who is the purchasing manager, and let him know that these need to be fulfilled so that we can accommodate our August forecast. Okay, so John David, please order these for today. Okay, and now in turn, John David will receive a notification either on his phone or on his laptop or via email and see that there's a request, especially for this purchase order 40. Okay, so from here, we can send the RFQ to our vendor. So let's go ahead and press send RFQ. So as you can see here from the top, Odoo's asking us to actually input their email address. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, and press send. Okay, so why was their email address necessary in this case? Because with Odoo, you don't even need to jump out of the system itself to send emails to your customers or your vendors, right? So as you can see here on the right within the Chatterbox, we are starting to create and form an audit trail. Okay, so the PO was created. I tagged my purchasing manager to inform him that these needed to be created. We have sent an email to our vendor. And the reason why we're doing that is just to validate whether our vendor can actually accommodate 299 pieces or whether the prices are still correct. Again, in today's day, it's never safe to assume. Okay, so let's say the supplier has now come back to us with an email and he said that actually the prices have gone up by around 10%, but he can accommodate all of the quantity that has been specified. As you can see here within the PDF quote, the expected date has also been included, right? So this is just to verify whether everything is in agreement. Okay, so now we have received the email, and he said that let's just say it's more expensive than usual. Okay, so let's say for example this is now 160. This is now 60. This is now 30, and for example this is now 550. Okay, so now that it is accurately reflecting the price, we can now proceed and confirm the order. Excuse me. So as a bonus part here within our purchasing module, we can actually we can actually see the purchasing historical records. So if we jump into it, and let's say for example we go into cream base, right? So as you can see for cream base, we have 3 historical orders. We can see exactly how much we procured at each time. So for PO38, as you can see, for the first one, it was 500. For the second one, it was 510. And now, as you can see, for the most recent one, 550, right? So this way, it's a good gauge so that we know whether to actually increase our own price so that our margins do not decrease. All right. So now that we have submitted our order, let's jump into our inventory application. Because within the inventory application, we are anticipating those orders to reach our warehouse, okay? And in particular, we are looking at the Pasay branch. Okay, so let's jump inside. All right, and here at the very bottom, we can see that we are expecting to receive these items actually for tomorrow. But because we, let's say for example, we paid extra to our supplier, right? Hence the more expensive, hence why it was more expensive. He said that he can actually fulfill it within the day. So let's simply proceed with that and validate. But oh, wait a minute. The system is asking us to validate and go through a quick physical or quality check rather. Okay, so if let's say for example the all of the items came in good condition and also in the right amount, we can simply pass. All right, so everything was good, so now we can validate this order. So in order to see whether that truly jumped into our inventory levels, let's have a quick look at the stock reporting. All right, so let's look for the Pasay branch, and if we look at our raw materials, we can see that the numbers have actually been reflected accordingly. Okay, so now that we have finally procured our raw materials, we can now begin with the production of our manufacturing order. So now let's go into our manufacturing order. And if we dive into it, we can see that all of the components are now ready to be built. Okay, so let's begin the planning stage. All right, where now, as you can see within the work order, in order to produce this manufacturing order, we have 2 work orders to do. So now let's assign the work order to, let's say, for example, one of our staff, or in this case, me. Okay, so I am going to assign it to William Grierson and save, right? So again, I can easily tag him and give him specific instructions before we proceed. But if everything is good, we can finally begin the production of this manufacturing order. All right. So in this case, is it safe to assume that you need to bring your laptop throughout the manufacturing plant? Well, in that case, we have actually created shop floor. So shop floor is for the production staff, wherein they're constantly running around creating the manufacturing orders. So in that case, it would definitely be better to use Odoo or shop floor, either on a tablet or on a large screen or a mobile phone. Okay, so in that case, let's jump into the shop floor. So within the shop floor itself, I can see all the orders that has been assigned to me, right? So we can see it here. 1 is for mixing and emulsification, and 2, the filling and assembly. So in this case, let's jump into the first station, which is mixing and heating. So once we are starting this process, we need to simply just press start. And let's say, for example, I actually haven't been, I actually haven't, it's been a while since I did one of these manufacturing orders and I needed the instructions. So very, very efficiently, I can do that by pressing that here. And I can see that, oh, I'm being reminded that I actually need to include my gloves, my hairnet, and include protective eyewear, right? So we also have very specific instructions here that we need to follow in compliance with FDA Philippines, right? We're trying to ensure that every procedure is up to the best standards. All right. So once we have finally done this, we can actually go on to the next phase, which will be this. So for this, this is one of the quality checks that you can avail within Odoo, right? So this is a measurement. So let's say, for example, I have measured it at, let's say 78. Again, there will be a big pop-up that shows up in the screen because it failed the quality check, right? It is not within our tolerance level. So as you can see here, it's letting us know not to proceed if this is indeed the exact measurement, right? So because I actually forgot to wear my glasses, I'm going to correct it because the actual amount is 120. So let's go ahead and proceed with this and let's go ahead and validate this work order, right? So once we are done, we can complete this order. And now, as you can see, for mixing and heating, I no longer have a work order there. But for tube filling and capping, I still have one more to go. So again, very simple, proceed with selecting start. And just in case we have forgotten how to do this part, we have instructions. For the instructions, we can also include a PDF or even a video, right? So in this case, we only have text, but don't worry because this is more than enough for me to understand my task for today. Okay, so we can now finally press and proceed. And then for the last part, the system is letting us know to register the batch number. So let's go ahead and proceed with that. Okay, so for the 299 units, we are going to generate a lot number or the batch number for this particular good, because when it comes to traceability, this is very crucial. Okay, so let's validate this work order and we can finally close our production. All right, let's do the quality check very quickly. All right, pass. All right, for demo purposes, I will streamline this process. And there we go. Okay, so let's say all of the quality checks have been confirmed. And now I can finally close the production when it comes here. Okay, very good. So now when we look at the work orders, we can actually compare the expected or theoretical duration it usually takes us to fulfill this order. And we can also have a gauge versus the actual real duration. So as you can see, for demo purposes, these numbers are very unrealistic. But this, as a production manager, can help me streamline which work centers can be streamlined or optimized. All right. So let's jump into the traceability aspect, the traceability aspect of this particular batch. So we can see that we created 299 units that went from our warehouse, now sitting in our inventory, main inventory. And from here, if we jump into the batch or lot number itself, we can actually see the total value of that production cost and also see the final cost per each unit, right? And that is taking into consideration the new price of the purchase order of the consumables that we just ordered. And furthermore, it's also taking into consideration our labor cost as well as operational cost. So because for face wash, this is considered a perishable good, we actually have expiration dates for this particular batch. So as you can see, the expiration date for this batch will be July 5, 2028. If you need to modify it, you can simply modify it very easily and then confirm. Okay, so now let's go back into the overview of the manufacturing order, right? And now we can conclude by looking at the, as a production manager, I want to see the breakdown of everything that went into that particular batch. So again, similar to the traceability just now, we can see the total breakdown and the report of this particular batch production. Okay, again, it's taking into consideration the employee cost as well as the operational cost. Okay, so we can see here the total unit cost now is 850. So this is very, very crucial, and we can even print this report if needed. All right, so yeah, so from here, let's see whether this truly registered in our inventory stock. Okay, so when we go into our inventory stock, right, and jump straight into inventory stock reporting, this is now in a consolidated view, right? But if we want to see for Pasay only, we can see we have 1,543 versus for Cebu, we have 1,200. Okay, so if we want to perform a quick internal transfer, because maybe for Cebu branch, they are expecting a forecast of 1,500, we can simply do that by jumping straight into our internal transfer. Okay, we will facilitate a quick internal transfer here. And we will transfer the location, or sorry, we will transfer the product from the main warehouse, which is warehouse stock, into warehouse 2, and then select the necessary product, which in this case is the face wash. Okay, so since they need 1,500 and they only have 1,200, we will be transferring 300. Okay, just like that. Now if we jump into our stock reporting, we can see that the Cebu branch now has 1,500. So there we go. There's been a lot covered in today's session, but now let's have a look at how exactly Odoo is able to help with those particular bottlenecks, right? So the outcome and the benefit of using Odoo to help with those initial problems, we were able to significantly reduce stock shortages, right? Because now we have a means to always have a safety stock when producing our orders. We were also able to improve warehouse and supply chain visibility, right? I do not need to double check or look at specific outdated worksheets. I can see the real-time updated value within the screen itself. 3, automated replenishment and inventory tracking. Again, in this demo, it was a manual order, but as you can see, we can definitely automate this process so that purchasing team will automatically get the RFQ. And then lastly, gain more accurate manufacturing costing. With the overview we saw earlier, we were able to take into consideration the new pricing change with the raw components, as well as the labor cost of the employees that worked on that order, as well as the operational cost of the machines. Okay, so I will now open the floor to a few questions. Okay, so multi-level bomb, right? So as you can see from the demonstration earlier, we only tackled a single layer bomb. So in this case, let's try to produce a quick double layer bomb. So let's jump into our manufacturing module. And then with there, let's go into bill of materials. As we can see here for face wash, we need these required components. But if we, let's say, for example, we create a duplicate. Okay, this will be face wash number 2. We are going to add the cream raw component, which needs to be manufactured first. Okay, so let's add cream as well and confirm. So now when we look at the BOM overview, in order to create face wash 2, we have 4 raw components. Sorry, 5 raw components, but one of the raw components needs to be manufactured first, which in this case is the cream. So as you can see, for cream, we need to have powder and glycerin first. So in terms of removal strategies, as you can see from the demo earlier, this was using first expiry, first out, hence why we had to use the why we had to indicate the expiration date. So in this case, if we want to see the other, let's say, removal strategies, let's jump into sales, go into products. Okay, so from here, as we can see, for example, packaging, right? So for packaging, we don't need to monitor the expiration. We can simply go in here and we can see the force removal strategy is actually first in, first out. So there's actually multiple ways we can route the product to be removed from our inventory, either first in, first out, last in, first out, either by closest location if you have multiple warehouses, or first expiry, first out, which was demonstrated earlier. Okay, so due to time constraints, I think I will leave it there. So as you can see, we only scratched the surface and the value that Odoo can offer. If you'd like to explore what Odoo can do, particularly for your business or for your particular workflow, please do either book a session with me to consult or get in touch with one of the business advisors. So yeah, that's yeah, we can end that for today. Thank you very much.